So, have you ever just felt it? That sheer weight of existing? That quiet, nagging feeling that maybe it's all a bit meaningless? Well, today we're diving into Soren Kierkegaard's incredible map for navigating exactly that feeling. It's a journey through what he called the three stages of the human soul.
It's a huge question, right? One that people have been wrestling with forever. When life gets heavy and full of anxiety, how do we find a path forward? How do we find something meaningful that actually sticks? Kierkegaard didn't just throw the question out there. He actually gave us a powerful framework for finding an answer.
You see, for him, our development isn't just a random walk in the dark. He saw it as a clear progression through three different spheres, or stages. Each one is a whole different strategy for dealing with the world, and more importantly, with ourselves. So let's start our journey with the very first stage.
First up, we meet the aesthetic. Now, you can probably picture this person. They live for the moment, always chasing the next pleasure, the next thrill, the next exciting new thing. Their main goal in life? To dodge boredom and commitment like the plague, constantly distracting themselves so they don't have to face that silence inside.
But here's the catch, the big paradox. The aesthete thinks they're the freest person in the world, tied down by nothing. Kierkegaard looks at this and says, hold on, that's not freedom at all. It's actually a kind of slavery. You're completely dependent on your next fix, a slave to your own fleeting desires. Let's get inside their head a bit. For the aesthete, the individual self is kind of like a ghost. There's no solid center, just a bunch of different masks they wear for different occasions. And the universal, society's rules, ethics, duties, that's just a boring drag, something to get around. As for despair, oh, it's there all right. But it's like this low-level unconscious hum of anxiety they're always trying to drown out with more noise. And that unconscious despair is the aesthete's constant shadow. It's that deep, empty feeling you get when you refuse to choose, to commit, to build anything that lasts. It's the very thing that fuels their frantic search for distractions. But, of course, eventually the distractions stop working. And that creates a crisis. That crisis is what can push a person into stage 2, the tragic hero. And let me tell you, this is a monumental leap. The person stops running, they turn around and decide to face life head-on by finally embracing responsibility and duty. It's a total 180. Instead of ignoring society's rules, the tragic hero finds their entire purpose within those rules. They put their personal wants aside for a higher ethical code. Their identity comes from their duty, as a citizen, a parent, a professional. So now, the individual isn't a ghost anyone. They're a servant to the greater good. The universal, or society, is no longer a constraint. It's the highest authority, the source of all meaning. And despair? It's not hidden anymore. The tragic hero feels its weight, and they manage it, consciously, through the dignity of sacrifice. But, and this is a big but, there's a ceiling here. The tragic hero is admirable, for sure, but their entire world is defined by human ethics, by social standards. They think being a good person is the end of the story. They never make contact with anything beyond the human system. They never reach for the divine. And that brings us to the final and by far the most radical stage, the night of faith. This is where the rules of the game don't just get bent, they can be completely shattered for a higher calling. Now this is a truly revolutionary idea. The Knight of Faith realizes that their private one-on-one relationship with the Absolute, with God, can actually override all of society's ethical laws. Their number one duty is no longer to the community, it's to the divine. Their entire worldview gets turned on its head. The individual is no longer a ghost or a servant. They are a sovereign standing alone before God. The universal, society's laws, suddenly becomes a secondary concern. And, most incredibly, despair isn't ignored or just managed. It's transformed by faith into a kind of paradoxical joy. This transformation happens when they embrace what Kierkegaard calls the absurd. This is the point where human logic and social rules just break down completely. It's where you have to take a leap of faith, trusting in something that makes absolutely no sense to the outside world. All right, so we've journeyed through all three stages. Now let's put them all side by side. It's the best way to really see the massive differences in how they approach life. This chart just lays it all out so perfectly. Look at the individual. It goes from a ghost to a servant to a sovereign. Or how they see the universal, first as a playground, then a master, and finally, just a secondary thought. But the real engine of change here, the key to the whole journey, is how they handle despair. The aesthete runs, the hero organizes, and the knight overcomes. And that's really the heart of it all. For Kierkegaard, spiritual maturity has nothing to do with happiness or success. It's all about your relationship with despair. How you choose to confront that fundamental weight of being, well, that's what defines your entire path. So, as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to think about the implications here. Because this journey towards an authentic life, well, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. I love this metaphor for the journey. You start in the shallow, exciting waters of the aesthetes. Then you move to the disciplined, safe shores of the tragic hero. But that final step, that's a leap into a deep, dark, and totally uncharted ocean of faith. And that path is not an easy one. The Knight of Faith stands completely alone. To everyone else, their actions might look absurd, maybe even immoral. They risk total isolation. They risk being seen as crazy, all because their ultimate justification is a private one, just between them and God. Which leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. Kierkegaard suggests that the Knight of Faith finds a kind of peace that pleasure and duty could never, ever provide. But is that inner peace, the one you find by embracing the absurd, worth the risk of being completely misunderstood and even condemned by the entire world? That's the ultimate choice he leaves us with.